Hey guys, it's Dasher Zach back with another review. This time, a couple of keycap sets from KeyTok, and I will say right off the bat, I think this is an investment you might want to make if you've sort of narrowed down, like, this is my endgame keyboard. For example, I'm going to main the iRock MG75 Pro. I want to sort of lock this in as like the keyboard I want to stick with forever. I want to add a little bit of quality, a little bit of personal touch to it. That I think an aftermarket keycap set might be the way to go. I have two sets of keycaps here, one a little bit more like playful, this being the Plato, and one being a little bit more serious, a little bit more sort of like techy, almost like official looking. I don't know, this is the Zero Division. This is my preferred set of the two. Let's take a look at the details on the site. Starting with the Plato set here, I will say these come in at a relatively high price point. They do have some sets, if you go back here, that are more affordable at $20, for example. I know some people who've tested the Mechagodzilla and Godzilla, for example, at only $19, and they found them to be equally high quality and experience changing as the ones like the Plato, for example, or the Beat Boy that I reviewed last time at $59. The Plato series here is a smile profile, PBT material, and you get 158 full keycaps, which means it fits pretty much any layout size of keyboard that you'd want to fit. Again, a very sort of unique, more playful aesthetic here, one that I'll show you in person in a little bit. And then the Zero Division here coming in at $59. You get 142 keycaps with this set, which again should cover pretty much any layout that you would want. These being a KOL profile, also made of PBT, and dual injection with 5-side Divison. Real quick comparison, for example, this set is the KOL profile compared to Cherry. The high keys are higher, 2.8 millimeters higher than the highest keys in Cherry, and the low keys also taller at 7.5 versus the 4.6 of Cherry. The Cherry, a much more lower profile set, KOL a bit higher profile, and that is something I found that I do not mind at all. Maybe a slight adjustment period when you first get the keycap set, but a pretty quick adjustment at that. Coming back to the keycap sets themselves, and I will be doing a before after of the sound on the MG75 Pro here, as it is a very unique sound, and I wanted to see how the keycaps affected it, as well as a sound test here on the Fun 60 Ultra TMR from Monsgeek. But taking a look at these keycaps, a very unique aesthetic for sure here. Lots of different sort of colorations and styles here. The main keycaps, of course, being black, and while very cool, maybe not my absolute favorite. And then the Zero Division. These are much more my style. I really enjoy the side profile of these, having the gray and the black, which you'll see here in a little bit. Really makes that RGB pop next to the keycaps. This sort of reminds me of like Gundam, Armored Skies, just like a very mechanical, official, cool looking aesthetic. This is right up my alley. I might play with these on a couple different keyboards. I do really like how the enter and the escape keys sort of pull from each other on different parts of the board, as keys will be hitting very often. The main black keycaps for what you'll be typing on, but then like the very nice sort of silver gray outline around the board. As far as the quality overall though, the presentation from KeyTok is 100% on point. From the magnetic clasp here on the box, I always find it to be a very high quality inclusion. You can see the standard black keycaps that I had here from the Monsgeek keyboard, as well as the F-row that I did not use on the 60%. But the very cool thing about this is they have keys of all different shapes and sizes. Obviously, with the full keycap set, you have enough for a numpad as well, but you also have different keys here you could use for like cap locks, tab, and enter. So you have different choices. You're not locking to just one. Also different options for print screen, page up, page down, etc., etc., as well as some blank unstyled keycaps should you want to draft that in. And not to disappoint, there is a third level of keycaps here in this set for the Plato. I believe this Bear with the Heart was the default escape. I switched to the Green X here, for example, so put a little bit of my own personalization on that. This one here with the bees, for example, could be subbed in for your enter key, and just giving you a quick look here overall at the different keycaps that are available in this set. And then taking a look at the Zero Division. Again, these are the red clear keycaps that you'll hear a sound test for from my iRock MG70 Pro that came stock. But as you can see, even more options for the control and alt keys here, as well as the numpad should you have a larger keyboard layout. And then finally on the third row here, a few different options for the like escape key, for example. You could decide to put the zero key there, alternate options for tilde, and a couple other keys here as well. So again, very cool that within this customization of a keycap set, you can customize even further by picking individual keycaps that appeal to you more. Your question here may be, why would you ever buy an aftermarket keycap set? For example, you might like the feel of how these are sort of raised here and outlined. You might have a keyboard that you really like the performance of because it was very cheap. For example, I've had an Ala Win68HE that felt just dirt cheap. I put the old Beat Boy keycaps that I had done a short on before from KeyTok on there, and it felt like a night and day different keyboard. They feel much more high quality than any ABS keycap and actually outperform most of these stock PBT keycaps as far as quality feel for me. And they can also change the sound profile significantly, which could be to your liking or to your dislike. Obviously, I've only ever had a sort of positive experience with the way that it's changed the sound profile of my keyboards. For example, the Jet 75, it made it sound even more like sort of like a typewriter, like rapid fire, while still being refined. When I put the Beat Boy on that over the stock keycaps, I never went back. Those Beat Boy keycaps are still on my Jet 75 that I daily drive in my office at work. Now, is that worth $65 for this keycap set or $20 for other keycap sets from them? That is up to you. you. There are a bunch of keycap sets all over the internet that are available. I've just primarily used the KeyTok ones. They've been great to work with, and they've been super high quality in both sound and feel. And with that being said, let's give an example of what change this can actually bring to the sound of a keyboard. And right before we do that, let's also take a look at how the keycaps here from the Zero Division set really make the RGB pop. It's almost like a sort of like spotlight light show, how they illuminate the edges of the keycaps and pop through. This is honestly not a keycaps that you would have thought, oh, I want like rainbow RGB with, but it actually looks, in my opinion, super sick. You could even make this just like a white light and it might look even cooler, or just like a red light on the side. But the way these keycaps are designed, the way the light comes up the side there on the bottom specifically, I just found to be a really cool and unique look. But let's grab that sound test. And we're back here from that sound test. So as you heard, maybe not a night and day difference in sound here on the MG75 Pro, but to me, a slightly more appealing sound. You may have liked it more, you may have liked it less. What you will notice is that it doesn't completely change the sound profile of a keyboard. It just sort of accentuates it or changes it a little bit. Over time, you may not notice the sound change quite as much unless you have very cheap keycaps or a cheap keyboard. The feel of these keycaps, much more premium than those sort of slippery red see-through keycaps on the MG75 Pro. Kind of a cool aesthetic, but I got sick of them after a little bit of time. And of course the Fun 60 Ultra, a much quieter sound, more subtle, and that was preserved with a slightly higher, more refined feeling I felt on the KeyTok keycaps, the Plato series. But again, this Zero Division series that I have here is absolutely sick. I love it. It's definitely my favorite of the two, in no small part due to how this RGB just absolutely freaking pops with these keycaps, but I also love the aesthetic overall, and I am very grateful for KeyTok for sending these out for review. But do note, all my thoughts and opinions that I shared in this video were my own. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. You can follow me on X at Dasherzak. Check out the Mousecast podcast, as well as my peripheral Discord server and upcoming reviews like the ATK F1V2 here. And with that, we'll see you.